Giannis showed up. It wasn't a 49-point deficit this time. A matter of fact, the Milwaukee Bucks actually won the game. Chris Middleton showed up. Giannis Antetokounmpo showed up. Do we have us?
To start, Antetokounmpo and Middleton have all 30 of the points in the first quarter. Durant finds some space, knocks it down. Durant fires a three. Holiday spin move, gets inside, layup, scores!
Win is a win. It doesn't matter if you win by 30, it doesn't matter if you win by 1. People can go back home and celebrate W. It was good.
Hello, good day. Welcome into First Take on a Feel Good Friday. Stephen A., I don't know what that laugh was about, what that meant, but we will get there shortly because inquiring minds need to know. Stephen A., Max Kellerman, I'm Molly Karen Rose.
Yeah.
We good, gentlemen?
We good.
All right, let's go. So the sky was falling for the Bucks. You all heard it, even without James Harden on the court. But Giannis and Middleton were up for the challenge, putting up 33 and 35 respectively, defending home court against Brooklyn. The Nets now up 2-1. Here's Giannis on their first win of this series.
We didn't score a lot. It didn't look as pretty, but at the end of the day, we got a win, and that's why we came and showed up tonight. We knew it was a very, very tough game, and we knew that we needed this game as much as possible. And hopefully we can get the next one. But at the end of the day, win is a win. It doesn't matter if you win by 30. It doesn't matter if you win by 1.
Do we have a series? Stephen A., are you more or less confident in the Bucks now?
Less? Am I supposed to be more confident because of a win? Yeah, let me tell y'all something.
That's generally how it works, yes.
Not
You're
for me.
less confident and they won last night. I just want to make sure I'm comprehending this.
Because Kawhi Leonard, James Harden did not play. Because these brothers were up 19 in the first quarter and were up 3 at the half. Just like that, the Nets came back. And let me just run through a couple of stats here. Kevin Durant. We really think he's going to shoot 11 for 28 again? We think that's going to happen? No. Kyrie Irving, 9 of 22, didn't attempt a shot in the last 4 minutes of the game. You think that's going to happen again?
All right, that was
fits his profile.
Joe Harris, Max Boy, 1 for 11 shooting from the field, 1 of 7 from three-point range, wide open looks at the foul line and still missing. You think that's going to happen again? I don't think that's going to happen again. And that's where I'm going with all of this. It would be one thing if they played their game and the Nets scored 115, but the Milwaukee Bucks scored 120 or something like that. You really think the Brooklyn Nets, as Max Kellerman will call it, maybe the greatest offense ever assembled in the history of basketball, is going to be held to 83 points again? Are y'all insane? Oh, no. And still, you got by the skin of your teeth because some dude named Bruce Brown is lucky he's allowed back in a team hotel. How in God's name?
Give it up, Bruce.
How in God's name? Listen. I don't want to completely destroy the brother. He's had a good season.
He had a good game.
He had a good season. He had a good game. I actually really, really like him. He's a talent, and I'm just messing with him just for the day. Just for the day. Molly, if there was ever a moment of blasphemy exhibited on a basketball court, it's that dude thinking that you're supposed to drive into the lane for a contested layup instead of finding KD, who, by the way, had just scored 7 straight, struggling all game, and then Middleton's making shots, and KD like, give me the ball, yank. Give me the ball, yank. Another 3, yank. I mean, just putting it on.
You can't kill him, though, because he kind of kept him in the game at one point. You can't kill him. That was a mistake.
I'm just saying, the blasphemy. You don't know. I mean, listen, if it was Kyrie or somebody, all right, I still would have preferred KD, but it's okay. Bruce Brown? Listen.
He was feeling himself a little too much.
We just remembered that your name wasn't Bruce Bowen. We thought we were like, is Bruce Bowen still playing because of the spelling of the name? We had to look with a microscopic eye in a box score just to make sure that that's Bruce Brown, not Bruce Bowen.
Got a bow tie on or what's going on?
And you.
I can't. It's too early for this. I haven't had my espresso yet.
Oh, my God.
But, Molly, when you saw that, you were thinking the same thing.
Out of your mouth right now.
I was like, what? I'm sitting there, I almost choked on my food.
Okay.
I was like this.
I was laughing.
You took the shot. I mean, you got to know. You giving the ball up to KD. That's all I'm saying. Is that going to happen again?
right, look.
No.
All right,
We're
you're
not
right. You're right.
excited.
We
We're
never
not
thought
excited.
we'd be talking about the
That's
Nets'
my whole thing.
offensive issues. That's fair. Max, where are you on this?
The question is not, do we believe now that the Bucks are going to beat the Nets?
Yeah.
No, Stephen A is pointing all the reasons out now why the Bucks aren't going to beat it. The question is, are you more or less confident than you were before they won? I'm more confident than I was. Let me tell you why. Number one, they were freestyling without James Harden. The Nets are so talented, they can still get theirs freestyling without James Harden. But also, if the shots aren't falling, this is what happens. With James Harden, they are a well-oiled offensive juggernaut. There is no chance, under any circumstances, that they would be held to an 80-something, 90-something score with James Harden. When I say, Stephen A., that if they can stay healthy by the end of this run, this will be by far the greatest offense, not in the history of basketball, in the history of American team sports. This will be the number one offense. There's going to be no way that has to do a lot with James Harden.
I need to remember this. The number one
offense,
offense
if they stay
in
healthy
the
together,
history
of American team sports. Yeah, there's never been anything like this.
I might need to bring this back someday.
Three guys, Harden, KD, Kyrie, all get their own shots at historically elite levels, all convert them from everywhere at the same level. Joe Harris can shoot. Blake Griffin's back to be. It's impossible. Okay, but without James Harden, that's not what they are, number one. Number two, do you remember what I said? And they're starting to show we need Harden. We want to beat everybody, crush everybody. We need Harden. Remember when I said that Chris Middleton, Stephen A., and Drew Holiday aren't enough, right? It's not enough for a big. Giannis is a big. He needs more. And you point out, hey, they can shoot this. The reason Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday, once in a blue moon, will make an all-star team is because they're really good, but they're not consistently excellent on an all-star level, or they make more all-star teams, right? The reason Kyrie and James Harden and Kevin Durant are obviously every year they play all-stars, but also sometimes MVPs, is because they're consistently better. So the supporting cast that KD has, in addition to KD being better than Giannis, is more consistently excellent. But what Middleton just showed is he is capable at times of being an all-star. Drew Holiday hasn't had his game like that yet. So are you more or less confident in the Bucks after they won? You got to be more. The Nets are missing James Harden. It's not like the Bucks don't have anyone. They just won a game. Maybe they can squeeze out another one before the end of this series.
Listen, on Twitter right now, there's this little video. Some guy, Joshua Johnson or whatever, put out a tweet, and even LeBron James
Oh, is it
said,
Josiah?
Josiah.
Yeah,
right?
no,
and even
he's
LeBron
hilarious.
James said, man, what the hell is wrong with you? But it's funny. It's a scene, I believe it's from Harlem Nights, where that guy that's shooting the little
gun.
pocket gun, and
Arsenio
the whole
got-
thing and slapped him over the head. Stop shooting that little damn gun. Stop. And they were like, that's what KD wanted to do to Bruce Brown. Because, see, that's the whole point. See, in a game of basketball, when you find somebody that's just on another level, or a team that's just on another level, and they know it, sometimes they come out and they blitz you the way they did in game two. Then you go back to their home crowd, you watch them get the momentum, and then all of a sudden you're like this, it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. Just wait, be patient. We'll just mow them down, we'll just chop away at them. And that's what the Nets were doing. And the reason why you know that's the truth is because as the game waned, the two-time league MVP in Giannis Antetokounmpo was nowhere to be found. You know why? Because he was giving that ball to Chris Middleton. Because Chris Middleton was hitting some shots. Then what happened? See, this is where you know greatness. When not only was KD putting on a show, everybody in the building knew he was going to shoot. Even Kyrie was like, here. Now that's Kyrie, a showstopper. He's like, here you go.
Yeah, the hot hand. It's KD with a hot hand. It's KD with a hot hand.
And KD was like, bang, bang, and that damn Bruce Brown. Yeah. You're the only one of all people. You're the only one that don't know to give. And by the way, I blame Steve Nash too, because remember the play, they bobbled the inbounds pass or whatever, but a play was really designed for Kyrie with Bruce Brown instead of just making sure to get KD the damn ball. Okay, so I didn't know. That didn't go unnoticed with Steve Nash either. But in the end, still in all, what it comes down to is that you know what you know. And you look at the Brooklyn Nets, and I'm just saying, they are toying with these brothers. toying with them because they know they got KD, which I told you. He is the ultimate factor. It's about him.
But without Harden, Harden, they lost the game. And by the way,
they lost to Boston.
Harden's injury.
It's one game.
Yeah, but you could see the offense was not. It's all just freestyle. It's not organized without Harden. He's the pick and roll master.
In Milwaukee, probably didn't want to
Harden's
be there.
Go ahead, Max.
Harden's 3 things real quick. Harden's injury kept him out, 20-something games? Like, they better hope they get him back pretty soon. They're going to need James Harden, number one. Number two.
What?
Number 2, no, they're going to beat the Bucks even without Harden, but it's going to be much more difficult.
Philly and then
right? Well, let's see how they do against Philly without Harden.
Oh, my God.
Or the Hawks. Let's see. Number 2, this is something you didn't even mention, which should make you more confident in the Nets. The defense last night. The Nets were playing defense last night. And 3, well, that's actually a big deal. If the Nets can play defense, it's impossible. Number 3, KD's last shot looked good to me. Like they're kind of lucky that shot didn't go in. When I thought the shot was good. They could have won that game last night.
Can I just say something really quick? I know we only have a minute left, but a lot of people were talking about before this game. It's a legacy game for Giannis. So what did he prove on that front to you?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
His shots. Listen.
He was more forceful, but he made bad decisions. He was shooting jump shots, and you were thinking, "What's going on? What's Giannis doing?"
He shot. Listen, Molly.
Yeah.
He shot 1 of 8 from 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
He shot 4 of 9 from the free throw line.
Ill-advised attempt.
We all know. Subtract the perimeter shooting element from the game, and Giannis is all world. The issue with Giannis Antetokounmpo is one thing and one thing only. He can't shoot perimeter shots. And come playoff time, I keep saying this. I don't know how many times I got to say it. Defenses get back. That's what made Magic Johnson and the Lakers so special. Somehow, some way, Showtime never left, even when the playoffs arrived. They found a way to push the ball up the court and run it. Nobody could do that.
I just wanted to see, because they did get the win, if it did anything in a positive direction, but apparently it didn't do much.
It's just not enough. But yeah, it goes on a positive direction.
Fair enough. I can't say enough about Donovan Mitchell, who scored 37 points in a 117-112 Game 2 win over the Clippers on Thursday to give the Jazz a 2-0 series lead. He's now averaging 41 points again, then minutes played in 6 games this postseason. As for the LA Clippers, they find themselves trailing 2-0 for the second straight series. Paul George had a big scoring night despite the loss. Here he is.
They weren't number one in the West for no reason. This is a tough team. But, we're approaching this the same way Dallas was, and so as good as they're playing, as good as, this matchup is, as tough as this matchup is, we still feel like there's moments throughout this game, this series, that, we're making plays that are self-inflicted. And so, again, it's a lot of uphill, but, we're optimistic. That we can get this under control, go back home, and one game at a time, but try to tie this series up.
First of all, the braids are on point as always. But Stephen A., when I was watching this game, I thought of you. I'm thinking to myself, Lakers out, Heat out, maybe Clippers out. I know your travel plans are looking kind of sad right now.
Yeah,
so with that being
better
said,
hope Milwaukee doesn't beat Brooklyn.
Are the Clippers done, in your opinion?
I think they are. I don't think they beat Utah. Well, first of all, it's not fair for me to even say it like that. What I mean is I picked Utah to win this series before it began. So I'm certainly not going to pick them to lose 4 of the next 5 games.
Okay.
So that's where that comes from. And the reason why I said that is because of 3 things, not necessarily in this order. They have a big-time perimeter defender in Royce O'Neal who can chase ball handlers around and chase stars around. They have an elite reigning defensive player of the year frontline defender in Rudy Gobert. And they have a superstar. Make no mistake about it. Donovan Mitchell is a superstar. He's the kind of guy you can sit up there and say, here's the ball. Take us there. When everybody knows it's you, when everybody knows what you're going to do it, when everybody can imagine how you're going to do it, and they still can't stop you. It is official. This brother, after what he did last year, remember, sent Russell Westbrook and Paul George home in the playoffs a couple of years ago. And so, breath smelling like Similac wet behind the ears. He pulled that off. Last year, he put on the show against Denver and Jamal Murray and the boys, even though they lost in 7 games. This year, he is 6-0. They are 6-0 when he is in the starting lineup. He is averaging 32. In this series, he's averaging 41 on 52% shooting. He is giving it to the Clippers. He is outshining Paul George and Kawhi Leonard combined.
MVP of the playoffs right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He
Let's
is
put it this
outshining.
way. Donovan Mitchell, when he ended with 37, I was disappointed.
Listen.
Like, he had 37.
You were like,
I was
come
like,
on.
I was like 37. I thought he was going to go for 60.
You're like, at least get in the 4s.
Listen, y'all.
That's how good he is.
Listen, y'all, and understand what else he's doing. If you're Steve Ballmer,
Yeah.
the owner for the billionaire owner, multi-billionaire owner for the Los Angeles Clippers, building a new arena in Inglewood and all of this other stuff. If Donovan Mitchell takes your Clippers out, guess what, Max? Let Kawhi go. Let him walk. Let him exercise his option and go elsewhere. Because now you're talking about your best chances with LeBron James home. You're talking about this is arguably the Clippers' best chance to win the chip. If last year wasn't, certainly this year was.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it done now you're talking about retooling, rebuilding, trying to establish a culture. You can't establish, as big time as Kawhi Leonard is, you can't establish a culture with a dude that you've got to exercise load management with
right,
so excessively. So I'm just saying.
Can they win?
I'm just saying. The magnitude of what Donovan Mitchell is doing to these Clippers cannot go unnoticed.
And it's certainly not going unnoticed. It's the headline.
Yeah.
And by the way, Donovan Mitchell, most points, I believe this was before even this last game, to start a playoff career in the first 28 games, whatever it was. MJ, number 1, greatest scorer of all time. Wilt, number 2, second greatest scorer of all time. I think Donovan Mitchell's now 3rd on that list. MJ, Wilt, Donovan Mitchell.
Max, he's already the best player in Jazz franchise history.
Yeah,
ahead of
right.
Karl Malone.
When it counts? Oh, yeah.
He's already
when
better.
it counts, yeah.
He's already
Look,
better.
Over
Yes.
Malone.
Karl Malone and John Stockton. Yes.
Stockton.
They were never him.
Okay.
Ever.
I just want to make sure everyone's hearing all these bold
when
takes
the
that are
when
happening.
the lights
We're only
shine
in the A
brightest,
block.
I agree. Donovan Mitchell's clutch factor is next level. But the Clippers can still win this series.
Okay,
Sure
tell
they
us
can.
why.
Sure they can. First of all, Stephen A., I have a question for you. Who won the first 2 games of the Clippers-Mavs series this season?
Mavs.
Who won the first 2 games in 2016 of the finals? Cavs-Warriors. First 2 games of Cavs-Warriors. Who won the series, Clippers-Mavs, this year?
Clippers.
And who won the Cavs-Warriors series
Cavs.
after falling down to 2? Who was the coach of the Clippers this year and of the
Ty
Cavs then? Ty Lue.
Yeah.
Now, you know what's happening? Do you know why they're losing these games?
Great points.
They're on the road, okay? And they're getting the brakes beaten off them in the 3rd quarter. What's the 3rd quarter? Coach's quarter. You need to tell me Ty Lue can't make adjustments? Now, that's on the road. Every series ever played, the road team either does what the home team either does what they're supposed to do and defends home court, right? Or the road team wins a game and it's like, uh-oh, the home team just messed up, right? The Clippers are going to have to win a game on the road. They're going to have to defend home court and win a game on the road. Can they do that? Yes, they can. Do they have the right coach for it? Yes, they do. Furthermore, Bogdanovich outplayed Kawhi Leonard on both ends of the floor last night. How many more times is that going to happen? Kawhi has bad games, all superstars do, but Kawhi is a clutch killer. You think he's going to let Bogdanovich outplay? He didn't let Luka outplay him all of last series. You think Bogdanovich is going to?
You're missing the point. Great points notwithstanding, you're still missing it. You see, when you have a superstar like Donovan Mitchell, and he's outshining you as a player, you can come back. But in the end, unlike Luka Doncic, he's got Bogdanovich, he's got Ingles, he's got Jordan Clarkson. They've done it without Mike Conley.
That's what's scary.
Mike
Conley.
They've done it without Mike Conley. You have a perimeter defender in Royce O'Neal who's all over the place. All right,
I love me some Royce O'Neal.
It wasn't just Bogdanovich defending. It obviously was Royce O'Neal. Not only that, unlike against Dallas, you have someone on the interior that's telling you, you better stay out there and shoot them damn jump shots. You know what they have to do? to make a presence in the interior, they had to bring in DeMarcus Cousins. And let's be fair to DeMarcus Cousins. He's no scrub.
He scored a couple times too, right?
When DeMarcus Cousins was healthy, he was averaging 28 a game.
Yeah.
Let's not forget
Highly
that
skilled
about this
scoring
brother.
and passing.
It's injuries that ravaged his career. He can play. Okay? So let's understand this. When you look at it from that perspective, in terms of everybody else, the Utah Jazz are saying we're going to contest every shot on the perimeter of a Kawhi, of a Paul George. We're going to make Reggie Jackson can drop his 29, but we're going to make somebody else beat us. On the interior, you ain't getting anything in here unless you go big boy, and that's not what the Clippers want to do because they're the best shooting team collectively in the NBA. And then on top of it all, you got Donovan Mitchell having help, and they can't guard him one-on-one.
Therefore, what
they can't guard him one-on-one.
And by the way, he's not like
Ty Lue had to go to a zone.
How many times is Ty Lue going to, like at a certain point, no Patrick Beverly for Rondo, and there'll be other things that he adjusts.
He had to go zone.
I know.
Zone.
Here's the thing that I've been saying since the beginning of this series, Stephen A. If Paul George shows up, because Kawhi will eventually show up in this series and he'll be big time. If Paul George shows up, they have a chance to win. If he doesn't, they don't, period. And showing up in the fourth quarter but not the rest of the game, scoring 20 points but taking a ton of shots to do it is not showing up. I'm talking about be his normal self.
But
a high-level, efficient
scorer. Did he
scorer
show
who
up
also
last
defends.
night in your
No,
opinion?
he didn't.
27 and 10, he still did. It was a bad 27 and 10 game.
It was
bad.
It was
It was not that impressive.
Okay.
But I
Box
will tell
score
you this.
misleading.
Here's the other point that you're missing. Every three that Paul George or Kawhi Leonard takes is contested or off the dribble. There are no open shots for those two from the perimeter. When they get space, it's because they create it themselves, not because the team in the ball movement is creating it for them.
That's true.
That's not going to beat Utah.
I agree. By the way, I agree with that
Last
too.
word, Max.
Do you believe in Ty Lue as a coach or not? At a certain point, people are going to stop looking at him and thinking it's luck because he had
I believe
LeBron
in
James.
Ty Lue, but I've seen Ty Lue lose, even though I believe in him.
I've also seen Ty Lue out-coach coaches who looked like they had the upper hand early in the season.
He does out-coach them.
Stephen A. says it's
Shooters are
over.
shooters.
Max says they're still in this. We will leave it there, gentlemen. More playoffs to get to. Sixers heading to the ATL for Game 3. Which one player do Max and Stephen A. think is the most important player in tonight's showdown?
Not want to return to the Green Bay Packers.
Never been about the draft pick. I love Jordan. He's a great kid.
This is about Jordan Love. This is about 2020.
Tuesday is here, and there was no sign of Aaron Rodgers.
He needs every rep he can get right now. He can learn something from both the good and the bad.
And it didn't go all that well. In fact, it was probably the least accurate day that we've seen from Love.
And this is a 500 team if Jordan Love is good, which we don't know, and the Packers don't even know.
Oh, the drama. The Packers' 3-day minicamp has come and gone, and Aaron Rodgers was a no-show, potentially forfeiting $90,000 for his absence. The standoff continues, and there doesn't appear to be any reconciliation in sight. On that note, we bring in Monday Night Football's Louis Riddick. Hi, Lou.
How you doing?
I'm good. I will get to you in a moment, but I'm going to start with you, Max Kellerman. Max, is this the best thing for Aaron Rodgers to miss camp?
Not only is this the best thing for Aaron Rodgers, this is easily the best thing for everybody involved. Everybody involved. I'll get to Aaron Rodgers last. First of all, the Packers. They get to evaluate Jordan Love, find out what they have. And by the way, if they like what they see, then they can trade Rodgers and get 3 first-round picks and stuff and have a quarterback and be ready to build a dynasty. If you think Jordan Love's ready to play now and you think he could be a really good quarterback and he was worth the first-round pick and he made real strides through camp and you can compete with him this year, and then you add 3 firsts and more stuff to that team, you do that right. And Gutekunst has shown himself capable in that regard, actually. You got a dynasty. Great for the Packers. How about for Jordan Love? He gets a look right now that he would not. He gets reps with the first team right now he would not otherwise get. This is only going to help his development. And from Aaron Rodgers' point of view, think about it. If they like Jordan Love, they're going to trade Aaron Rodgers. Because what are you going to make? You're going to die on. You're going to stand on principle. You're going to die on that hill. I'm saying, I got to show Aaron Rodgers who's boss. If you like your quarterback, you're not going to take all those draft picks and everything you can get for Rodgers. You'll trade him. He'll wind up playing for the Broncos or whoever he wants to play for. That's one. Two, if they don't like Jordan Love, now they have to come hat in hand to Aaron Rodgers, which probably includes a public mea culpa. I'm sorry, you will have input, and trading Jordan Love. I don't see is there downside? Sure. Rodgers, isn't as ready to play when the season begins. If he does start with the Packers, maybe they lose to the Saints week 1 or something like that, where otherwise they'd win. That's a double-digit win team with Rodgers. They're going to the playoffs anyway with Rodgers. It's not that there's no downside. It's that it's the best-case scenario for everyone.
I don't think it's the best thing for Green Bay. And I caught some of what you said. I didn't hear everything, and I'm going to tell you why. It's no disrespect to you. Ryan Clark, Marcus Spears, Louis Riddick, Adam Schefter, Dan Graciano, the list goes on and on. I don't hear a damn thing anybody's saying about Aaron Rodgers with football, Max, because to me, I don't understand why everybody keeps bringing up football when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. This situation is not about football. It's not about him looking at the Green Bay Packers and saying, I want to be in a better situation. It's not about him saying, and rhetorically speaking, we have to ask ourselves these questions. Is he trying to say I can't win with Green Bay? No. Is he trying to say we don't have enough talent in Green Bay? No. Is he trying to say we have bad coaching in Green Bay? No. Is he trying to say that I hate the city, I hate the fans, I can't stand being here? No. He's not saying any of those things. So what is this about? It's about a guy that feels completely and utterly disrespected, and as a result, has clearly made the decision, I want to bring attention to how this organization treats people. That's what this is about. When are we going to stop playing games? Because every time we bring up football and we bring up the Devontae Adams or anybody else that they have on their squad or Matt LaFleur or anybody else, we ignore what the issue is. That sits up there and says, because if you're able to look at Gutekunst, you're able to go like this. Not a bad job. 13-3 the last 2 seasons in the NFC Championship game. I mean, he's going to be respected. Mark Murphy comes out. Gutekunst ain't going anywhere. He's our guy, et cetera, et cetera. That allows them to focus on, look at what our organization is doing, as opposed to paying attention to what the superstar quarterback and future Hall of Famer, who at the moment is the reigning league MVP. We're ignoring what he said. He is talking about the organization. And nobody says, and I said this the other day, Lewis, and I'm going to say it again and hand it off to you. I said this the other day on national television. When is somebody going to look at Gutekunst? When is somebody going to look at Mark Murphy and say, what did you do to him? What did you do? Why? Since 2005, he's been at Lambeau Field for frozen tundra, freezing, not complaining at all. He signed one contract after another. He represents the fan base. They won a Super Bowl. Okay, he's a multi-time league MVP. What did you do to that man? Why would he act fresh off of 2 trips, back-to-back trips to an NFC Championship game? Why would that man sit up there and say, I don't want no parts of y'all? You did something to him, and nobody there has asked him that. What did you do to him? That is what this is about. That's the story.
I know one person you listen to about Aaron Rodgers. Go ahead, Lewis.
No, look, Stephen, listen, I agree. Okay, I agree with your point here about this being bigger than football. And I think for the Green Bay Packers, and I said this yesterday, I said, look, there obviously was there's an accumulation of things that have happened to Aaron, and maybe not just to Aaron, but to other people in this organization, whether it be players. I can't go any further than that, but I think specifically though with players, maybe that were stalwart players, that were pillar players in terms of how they were treated and how they were looked at within the organization, and how their time came to an end there and how that was handled, that obviously is not sitting well with him, and how his time, as he said a year ago, that he didn't think he could control how his time there in Green Bay was going to end, how that is being handled. Those are the kind of things when you're talking about, when you're asking the question, what have you done to this man? I think those are the kind of things that we're talking about here. And I have said, look, I get it from his side of it because I've seen it from a player perspective and from a front office perspective. Guys like Aaron Rodgers have earned the right to have different levels of communication and conversation with front office and management than other people would. That's just a fact. Brian Gutekunst knows this. I know Mark Murphy knows this. He's been in the league a long time. They know better than that. They know better than to think that we, the Packers, the emblem, the colors, are bigger than the players. Because the players made the Packers who they are. And Aaron Rodgers in particular has brought a level of attention to this franchise on par with anyone that they've ever had at that franchise. So for them to not recognize that and or change the way that they're doing business is a big mistake. Because you see, and it's a mistake that now has resulted in this. A guy saying, as you just alluded to, Stephen A., I don't want to play for you. I don't want to play for you. It's not about money. It's not about anything. I just don't want to play for you. You know why? Because I don't like you. I don't like how you do things. Now, for Green Bay, it does make sense for him to sit out. It does. If I was Green Bay, I would like the fact that he's not coming to training camp from this regard. If you're a really reasonable person and have some common sense, I would take him for his word and say, look, he ain't coming back. We better find out where we are with Jordan Love. We better find out what our football team's going to look like. And you know what? I don't care what they do during training camp and preseason. They're still not going to know. They're still not going to know.
Hey, Max, let me chime in here because I want to throw this. I want to make sure before you chime in, I want to throw this about you because I want you to comment about this as well. We've obviously lived through some really turbulent times over the last year and a half. We all know why, right? And it wasn't just COVID that I'm talking about, obviously. But I'm not going to bring all of that up. I'm only bringing that up to say, Max, when we hearken back to those times, you religiously, and Lewis, you've heard Max do this as well. You've brought up Colin Kaepernick. What we've also done is we've used it to highlight the level of control that NFL franchises exercise. Now, when you handle it as Lewis would, you know, and we all believe that Lewis should be an executive in the NFL. I ain't shy about saying that. But the level of professionalism and decorum that you exercise is ultra important even more to the football players because they already feel like they have to succumb to the establishment. You have individuals in positions of power in the National Football League who know they're buffered by the rules that govern the league. And so as a result, they're able to look at an Aaron Rodgers. And instead of listening to him and saying, hey, man, we get where you're coming from. This is what we're thinking about doing. Here's why, you know, we want to hear what you have to say, but this is what we're thinking. They're the type of people that have said to him, you go play football. We handle this. You stay in your place. That's how he's been treated. It's not just about other players. That's how they've treated him. And so to me, when we bring up football stuff, that should be a further indictment against the Green Bay Packers as an organization. Because why would somebody want to leave a team that's been to back-to-back NFC championship games? Why would they want to leave?
Yeah.
What have you done to them?
Stephen A., I totally agree with that. And in fact, that's why I'm saying what the Packers need to get through their heads if they want to keep Rodgers is they're not the ones deciding. Rodgers is the one deciding. If he stays, it's because they have changed his mind. That's why I'm saying here, if they decide Jordan Love ain't it, then they need to trade Jordan Love. They need to come hat in hand publicly to Aaron Rodgers, humble themselves, and appeal to his sensibilities. Hey, we were wrong. You were right. We would like you to stay, hoping they can change his mind. But they won't be able to force him to do anything. They know they won't be able to force him to do anything. I hear you, and I agree. And, Lewis, I believe that Rodgers here will be the deciding one. The NFL has changed the rules around the quarterback and the offense to the point where if you are super great, if you're a great quarterback, you are now like an NBA star in terms of the power you wield. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. We'll see if the Packers know it or not.
It's possible they might not know that.
They may not know it, and then they're behind the times.
You could go, but it's possible they might not know that because they might treat him like they treat typical players. Oh, they'll come back for the money. He ain't sitting out the season. They might have that.
But you brought it up. He could go host Jeopardy.
Yes, he could.
They're going to pass on 3 first-round picks and more stuff.
That was their best ratings.
Yeah, I'll say this. Let me speak to it from Green Bay side and then circle back to something you said, Max, about who's going to actually decide this thing. Look, Green Bay, if I'm looking at it from their side, all right, let me just put myself in their shoes from a management perspective. And what would I do if I were them at this point? If I had already pushed it to this point anyway, I wouldn't do anything. Okay, I think I would have already made my best pitch in order to try and quote-unquote change his mind. Right now, all of my energy would be focused on what we have there, and that's Jordan Love, and trying to figure out, was he worth trading up for in the draft? Is he someone who will try and get some answers here through the rest of the summer and through training camp, preseason, and the regular season? But we're not going to have all the answers. This is what we've got to ride with. Okay, we already know where Aaron stands with this. And then let me get back to this point here about Aaron Rodgers. They're not going to change his mind. Aaron will play in Green Bay if he wants to. If he doesn't, then he may just be forced to retire. Because I don't think Green Bay's not going to acquiesce to him. I don't think, and at least not before the regular season starts. They're going to sit and wait. They're going to play this high-stakes game of chicken with him and see if he's willing to let fines accrue through training camp. See if the regular season starts. Are you willing to forego salary? Are you willing to have fines accrue then? Are you really willing to take this to a Carson Palmer level? If I'm Green Bay, that's what I'm waiting to see.
Lewis.
And if I'm Aaron Rodgers, if I've already taken it this far, I have to be willing to go as far as it needs to go in order to get out of there.
Lewis Riddick, I think you could tell by the jacket here. I mean, I can go a little Hollywood and stuff like that. And so as a result of that, Lewis, I mean, just so you know, Molly, I got a few connections, and I got on a little authority that Aaron Rodgers could host Jeopardy and make a minimum of $10 million per.
Damn.
Per. Okay? $10 million per hosting the game show.
But that'll always be there,
is,
Stephen A. There's just a window for football.
No, I understand that, but that's what I'm saying. In other words, if you want to sit out for the year.
But
you want to sit out for the year. He ain't going to starve, is what I'm trying to say.
Take it to its logical conclusion.
No.
Lewis, this is what I mean. Take it, there's no way, unless the Packers really want to prove a point to their players, that they're going to give up, once Rodgers shows he means business, 3 firsts and more stuff than that. 3-4 first-round picks. They're just going to say, we won't we won't take Rodgers?
No, I'm sure there may come a point, Max, where they wind up saying, hey, you know what? Listen, instead of being fearful of if we trade him to a certain place and he winds up winning the backlash we will face, it would be better for us to go ahead and recoup as much as we possibly can for some team that's basically willing to give us everything they got and send him down the road because we can't fix this. I'm sure there's going to come a point where Brian Gutekunst and Mark Murphy have to make that decision. And that will probably be the decision that they do make. I'm just saying I wouldn't hold my breath in that coming anytime soon. They should go ahead and play and be patient with this.
You don't play Jeopardy. What, Stephen?
Molly, I wouldn't mind hosting a show for $10 million a year. I wouldn't mind hosting.
I thought you already doing that.
Yeah, kind of already do that.
I thought you already do that.
Hey,
no one feels sorry for you.
Yeah.
Lou, I love the sport coat. We gotta go. How many jobs do you need?
Yeah, but you know what, Molly? You take those shows. You take those shows in a couple weeks, and you're done.
Weeks, I'm good.
That's true. That's the difference.
I wouldn't even have to give up first take.
And he wouldn't have to lose the base to me every day.
I had incredible teases for these playoff games we're about to get into. Examine some storylines before Game 3. Joel Embiid is averaging over 39 points through 2 games in the East Semis, a 3rd straight playoff game with at least 35, would tie Embiid with Wilt for the longest streak in team history. Trae Young shot 1 for 7 from deep in the Hawks Game 2 loss, including the playoffs. Ice Trae's 3-point percentage drops by double digits when Atlanta wins or loses. Returning to here, we got the Hawks Game 3 chances since Nate McMillan became head coach. Atlanta trailed only the Nets for the best home win percentage in the NBA. Stephen A., who is the most important player in Game 3 tonight?
I would tell you it's going to be Ben Simmons. That comes from the fact that I was in Atlanta for their first round series against the Knicks, seeing that crowd, how they feed off of that crowd in Atlanta, not to mention the fact that, obviously it's familiar rims because that's their home court. Herder and Collins and Young and all of those boys shoot better, obviously at home, and they really, really feed off of that adrenaline and that energy that they're providing. The reason why Ben Simmons is so important, Max, is because in this particular game, the other games I didn't feel that way. I thought it was Tobias Harris, if you recall. For this particular game, I would tell you it's Ben Simmons because in Atlanta, because of how they play when they're there, it's going to be incredibly important to him to dictate and control pace. And Ben Simmons is the one person that has the power to do that on the offensive end in terms of patrolling the Sixers offense, and on the defensive end in terms of him defending against Trae Young. Because what he's going to have to do is stay in front of Trae Young. He's going to have to make sure that Trae isn't allowed to penetrate into the seams into the teeth of their defense and draw fouls, because Trae Young is a master at drawing fouls. He'll stop on a dime just to let you run into him. and just pick up and forces you to pick up these ticky-tack fouls that could send you to the bench because you're in foul trouble. If you're able to keep him in front of you and not allow him to be the creator and let him just try to be a scorer because of it, it could bode well for the Philadelphia 76ers. That's why I say Ben Simmons is the most important person in tonight's game.
Well, I said Ben Simmons for the first 2 games. And our debate centered around it was Ben Simmons or Trae Young or Tobias Harris, right?
For that game.
For those first 2 games, it rotated. And that's the reason right now it's Embiid. Because, Stephen A., the only reason we picked those other players was because the assumption was Embiid wouldn't be Embiid. He'd missed games, and then it turns out he had a torn meniscus. So we stopped thinking that Embiid was the focal point and best player in the series, and we started thinking of Trae Young on offense. And Trae Young's offense, and what are the Sixers going to do about it? Well, what about Ben Simmons' defense, and what about Tobias Harris's offense? But then, lo and behold, Simmons comes out. Doc! And then the next night, Embiid comes out and gives you 40 with 13, a block, 2 steals. He's plus 14. And they win. Oh, pardon me, Joel Embiid. All of my analysis of this series was assuming Embiid wasn't, not the real Embiid, wouldn't be able to show up. It turns out that's either the tiniest tear in a meniscus in history, that's the least torn meniscus in the history of torn meniscuses, or is it menisci?
Meniscus.
Or Embiid is just that dude. And we can expect this from him night in and night out. And if this is really Embiid, then Trae Young, apologies. Ben Simmons, apologies. That's the most important player in the series.
Well, first of all, a complete tear is entirely different than a partial tear, which you know, and I definitely have had my share of meniscus tears, so I know a thing or two about it, and it definitely impedes your ability to jump and all of that stuff. But in the end, you know what? If you had to play, you can still play.
Apparently, I was born with a torn meniscus.
Particularly with the kind of facilities that you have available to you, and all of that other stuff. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. It's about Trae Young and neutralizing him in the ATL for Game 3. Game 3, they're going to be hyped, they're going to be psyched because they smell blood, and they believe they can beat these Sixers. And they believe that, you know what, we can get to the conference finals against the Nets. Matter of fact, they believe they're the best team to beat the Nets because they have shooters. And in order to beat the Nets, you need to have shooters. That's what their thinking is right now. You're Ben Simmons. You have the power to sort of negate all of that on both ends of the floor because you're the guy with the ball in your hands on the offense, and you're the guy that's assigned with the most important defensive assignment.
If Embiid gets his averages, and anytime it's a 0.5 or I round it up, okay? His averages through 2 games in this series, 40 and 11 with 2 blocks and 2 steals. Like, if Embiid is that, and sometimes these do, like Donovan Mitchell, that's just who he is when it matters most. If this is who Embiid is, what are the Hawks going to do with it?
I just think it keeps them in the game, Max, but it's always somebody else that's going to be called upon to do something with Embiid. And I think that in this case,
he's a big.
Simmons.
He's a big. As a big, always needs help.
Game 3 tonight, 7:30 Eastern, right here on ESPN. When we come back, 4 words no Nets fan wants to hear. Bruce Brown, hero ball. Stephen A. and Max dive into the Nets' strange decision.
Trae Young is something special. He is on the verge of superstardom because the biggest stage is what he loves.
Luka is as likely a candidate to be the best player in the game at this moment as anyone.
76ers don't win Game 2. This series is over.
We're going to talk Cowboys next. Are they the best team in the NFC? Do they have the best offense?
You said Cowboys at best. You made me laugh.
Yes.
This is your point guard.
This is for me.
I just want to be very clear about it.
Yes.
It's perfect. I can't even argue. It's perfect.
Thank you very much.
Can anybody find Paul George? Right now, the only person that's paying is Steve Ballmer because we don't know where you are.
Dallas may as well be called Alice because they have no D in Big D.
When was there ever a moment that the Greek freak, he was better than KD?
He looked like a cross between Michael Jordan and Shaquille O'Neal. He was dominating everybody. That dude was the best in the league.
You have zapped my enthusiasm to talk basketball with you with your flagrant ignorance.
We're not going to steal two in Philly. As long as we get one, we did our job, and I think we're going to be all right in Atlanta.
We had a lot of fun this week.
It was a good show.
Right, let's finish strong. We got another hour. The Brooklyn Nets look human for the first time in the series, dropping 1 to the Bucks in Milwaukee. KD had a team-high 30. James Harden absent again. It was a low-scoring affair, though, guys, 86-83. Steve Nash believing their offense, hard to believe, but their offense was the issue.
It's interesting that we lose a game because of our offense, but it was just a tough game. We just couldn't find a rhythm.
Max, just like we all predicted, the Nets offense would struggle.
Their defense would show up.
Right? Is that why they lost?
Yeah, of course. Look, as Stephen A. mentioned it earlier, Joe Harris is not going to miss a million shots. He's one of the best shooters in the game. Kevin Durant was missing. Kyrie did not have his best game. And beyond all of that, they didn't have James Harden. Without James Harden, how to put this? He creates more high percentage shots than anyone ever, because you have to include him in that percentage. You know, Ben Simmons will create high percentage shots for others, and he can take it in the paint and everything, but can't shoot at all. Harden can shoot from everywhere. He can get his own shot at historically elite levels, and he can convert those shots at historically elite levels from anywhere on the floor. And he creates high percentage shots for his teammates at historically elite levels. So you add that to this mixture of talent, the most talented team of all time, with D'Antoni on the bench. Like, think of who's on that bench. Steve Nash, Mike D'Antoni, and James Harden. Mike D'Antoni has a system. First, he ran it to near perfection with Steve Nash. Then he tweaked it and ran it with James Harden. That team is built to run that system with Harden as the head of the snake and these dudes as the weapons. And when they do that, it's a joke. They're so good, even without him, they'll beat the Bucks. But we're talking about last night, the offense lacked cohesion. It lacked their point guard, particularly down the stretch of that game. It lacked a game plan. And with James Harden, they have that, and they're unbeatable.
As I religiously say, you're wrong, but what else is new? Last night in Milwaukee, the referees allowed the level of physicality they didn't allow in the first two games. It was back in Milwaukee. Milwaukee tried to big boy them because they know that's your only chance. That's why P.J. Tucker got in KD's face and all of this other stuff. These are the kind of things that happen when you're going up against a juggernaut that's relatively a finesse team, and you know skill-wise you simply can't hang with them. What do? You get physical. This is why the Pistons and everybody people was complaining about the Pistons, but the Pistons were the bad boys and relished that title. And then the NBA tried to modify the rules, but then Pat Riley comes. At first you inherit the Ken Bannisters of the world. Remember him? And then after that, you got Charles Oakley, Xavier McDaniel, Charles Smith,
Anthony Mason,
and the Hoku God rest his wonderful soul. You got all of that going on, even with John Stark.
Derek Harper.
Derek Harper, but these brothers were no punks. And so you got physical. And what did people say? It was unattractive, making the game more physical, not as appealing to the viewing eye, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of people think that had a lot to do with the insurgence of European players coming to the NBA. I don't believe that for 1 second. I think they took him to Barcelona. It was always Commissioner David Stern, God rest his soul, his vision to really globalize the sport of basketball, and they successfully went about the business of doing it, and major props to them. Having said all of that, last night, they got physical, and they were allowed to get physical, and that knocked them off a little bit. But I ask you this question, Max Kellerman, and it doesn't require an answer. A simple nod will do. Kevin Durant played with James Harden at the very early stages of James Harden's career. Kevin Durant is a 27-point-per-game scorer on 49% shooting and 38% from three-point range. Did most of that come with James Harden without not being his teammate? I believe it did. How about Kyrie Irving? He's a career 22.8 to be exact, but basically a career 23-point-per-game scorer who's averaged at least 24 to 25 a game over the last several years. This is his first season playing, and by the way, he's a career 47% shooter from the field. This particular season is his first with James Harden. If I'm correct, I think I'm correct in saying that, right?
Kyrie?
Yes, this is his first year.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that the kind of things that you're talking about with James Harden are not false, but they're still somewhat irrelevant Because the greatness of a KD and the greatness of a Kyrie Irving, they make high and low percentage shots.
Yeah.
They make contested and uncontested shots. So the point that I'm trying to make is that even though James Harden is as skilled as he is, and when he's on the floor and Kyrie's willingness to defer and make sure he's the point guard and Kyrie will be the scoring guard, play the role in how these Nets look, it doesn't take away from the reality that when James Harden is not there, you're not asking KD and Kyrie to do something they didn't build their careers on and are accustomed to doing.
Let me put it another way.
That's all it is.
Let me put it another way. If James Harden were playing, did they lose that game last night?
Well, I don't think so, but what I'm saying to you is
That's
this.
what I'm saying.
Wait a minute. There are times in James Harden's career, Kyrie Irving's career, KD's career, where you take a night off.
Yeah.
No. This discussion that we're having now, I stand down, Max, if Milwaukee comes back and do the same thing in Game 4. It's not a big deal for one game.
I don't know if they'll do it,
for one game.
Look.
I'm just saying it's one game.
The Nets aren't losing this series.
I'm not talking about the series. I'm just talking about a game.
It may happen in another game.
It's not going to happen in another game.
I think it could happen in 2 out of these.
It's not going to happen in another game.
6 games.
It's not going to happen.
Not
that. If they lose, it's going to be them scoring over 100. Is what I'm saying.
Look, they're going to score 83 again. I was never the biggest Harden fan, but I saw what he did. But I wasn't anti. I just, I thought he choked, but he was normally a great player.
I don't think he choked.
I understand. We used to debate about that. But I'll say this. Once Harden became a real point guard, when he didn't have to worry about scoring 50 to win anymore, and he had weapons like KD and Kyrie, and he could orchestrate the offense, he went from averaging 34, 36 points a game to, with Brooklyn this year, not even 25 points a game. But it was the best I've ever seen him play. His mastery of the offense was almost comical. And with James Harden, they almost never lost. But Kyrie and KD, they didn't have a great record without Harden. I know it's regular season. I know they're better than the Bucks even without him. Harden is the thing that makes this team completely unbeatable. They're unbeatable if Harden's there. When he's not there, they're more beatable.
Well, again, and the reason why I say this, they won games 1 and 2 without Harden. So you don't lose game 3.
Yeah, but only by like 45 points.
But you don't lose game 3 because you don't have Harden. If you won games 1 and 2 because you have Harden. You lost game 3 because essentially the physicality got to you and you took a night off.
Yeah.
Offensively.
Yeah, you were missing shots.
You took a night.
86 also is the lowest points we've had in a win of any game all season.
Took a night off.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen
weird.
again.
It was a weird game.
Yeah.
Solid it.
On either
It was
side.
a weird game. It was out of the 90s.
If they lose again, it won't be because they scored 83 points. I promise you that.
The Nets offense should never be the issue. Speaking of offense, Mike D'Antoni wants to coach the Blazers. And folks, when I tell you Stephen A. Smith has some thoughts on that, ew boy, do not miss that discussion next on First Take. And was Shaq ever the best player in the NBA? Max, Stephen A., and Perk all weigh in on the Big Diesel's dominance. First Take rolls on. Is Nets assistant coach Mike D'Antoni eyeing that now hiring sign outside of the Portland Trail Blazers facility? After the Blazers parted ways with Terry Stotts last Friday, D'Antoni has serious interest in the Portland Trail Blazers head coaching vacancy. That according to The Athletic. Mike D'Antoni is one of 6 active coaches with at least 600 victories as an NBA head coach. That said, his 672 such wins are second most among those without a finals appearance while leading the charge. D'Antoni has led 3 teams to the conference finals as a head coach. Max Kellerman, should Lillard want D'Antoni as coach?
Hell yes. Hell yes. There's a lot of D'Antoni slander. And by the way, I've participated in some of it. But back in New York, I was in the radio in New York, used to call him Mike Antoni. Before his plane literally touched the ground in L.A., when he went to L.A., I was making jokes, Mike Antoni, right? He needs a D coordinator. And when he's had one on the bench, it's worked out. But Mike D'Antoni is the guy you go and get when your team really doesn't have enough talent to win a championship under almost any circumstance, but you have a really talented primary ball handler. Then you go get Mike D'Antoni as coach. You know why? Because he'll get you closer to winning the championship than anyone else. He's the guy, enabled by Daryl Morey especially, when in Houston, where it's like, let's just play the most efficient style, and who cares if people like it or not? Because people liked, the D'Antoni Suns, right? But let's just take a lot of threes and free throws and not take mid-range and everything. And Stephen A. and people like him complained when they fall short of a championship. Mike D'Antoni didn't have the talent in Houston to win a championship. You know what D'Antoni did with James Harden as point guard? He got the Rockets to host the Game 7 against the most talented team of all time until this Nets team, the KD, Steph, Clay, Dre, Iggy Warriors. They hosted a Game 7, and they didn't have Chris Paul, and lost by single digits in spite of missing 27 threes consecutively. And you know what everyone said at that point? Well, live by the 3, die by the 3. See, you can't win a championship with D'Antoni. I'm not trying to hear that. Stephen A., you know what's going to happen if he goes to Portland, another team without enough on the roster to win a championship? They'll lose in the conference finals, which is farther than they've been, right, in the Damian Lillard era. Lillard will go crazy. They'll lose in the conference finals in a tough series, and you'll sit here and say, see, you can't win a championship with D'Antoni, instead of acknowledging the fact that you get closer to winning a championship with D'Antoni with teams that have no business getting there because of D'Antoni, the coach. Of course Lillard should want D'Antoni.
Do you believe excellence can be emulated?
Yes.
You don't believe that D'Antoni is doing something that other people can't figure out?
Yeah, you can imitate him, sure.
Okay. So now we go to this point. And see, this is why somebody like Mike D'Antoni wouldn't like me, because I completely disagree with Max Kellerman. I respect the hell out of Mike D'Antoni. I actually like him as a human being. I think he's a very nice man. I think the job that he did in Phoenix was phenomenal. And he deserves a lot of credit to the way he has transformed the culture of the NBA in terms of how the game is played. Because before Steph came along, there was a guy by the name of Steve Nash. Now, he might not have deserved one of those 2 league MVPs because one of them should have gone to Shaq. But nevertheless, Steve Nash was a sensational basketball player. And he had Amari Stoudemire, and he had Joe Johnson, and he had Sean Marion, and all of these brothers, and Phoenix was legit. But you know something? You weren't going to get over the hump because San Antonio was in your way, because the Lakers was in your way, and they actually played defense.
And if not for that one series with all the ejections, maybe they do win the championship that year.
You can say the maybes, but I don't want to hear that. It didn't get done. And in the end, here's my whole point. I'm looking at Mike D'Antoni, 1 season in Denver, 1 half season in Denver, 5 in Phoenix, that's 6 seasons, 4 in New York, that's 10.5 seasons basically, 2 in LA, that's 12.5, 4 seasons in Houston, and not 1 single trip to the NBA Finals to show for it. Damian Lillard ain't 22. He's been around for a while. CJ McCollum has been around for a while. Covington and Melo and those boys have been around for a while. How many damn chances you supposed to get? The man coached James Harden. The man coached Steve Nash. The man coached Kobe Bryant. The man coached, all of these guys. He had not a single trip to the finals to show for it. I am sick and tired of coaches, white coaches, getting chance after chance after chance after chance. I'm not saying that Mike D'Antoni doesn't deserve to be a head coach. I don't want to put that out there. Mike D'Antoni, for a lot of teams, but let him go get one of them retreads and make them relevant. Why he always got to get a Damian Lillard caliber or a James Harden caliber or a Kobe Bryant caliber? Why you got to have something like that in your stable? Because there's plenty of coaches that don't have that. In the end, what it comes down to is this. Think about what we're saying here. We got a coach where Jamie Foxx don't take the D out of D'Antoni. He still hasn't, after all of these years, he still hasn't figured out that you have to play defense at some time. Take the D out of D'Antoni. But we still want him as the head coach. But we got assistant coaches that know how to do both and can't get chances. At some point in time, give somebody else a chance. This dude has been around for 16 years as a head coach. And not 1 single appearance in the NBA Finals with the talent that he's had available to him. All I'm trying to say is, I'm not trying to say the man don't deserve to be a head coach. I'm not trying to say no team in the NBA should have looked at him and say, you know what? We need box office appeal. We need a team that can get to the playoffs and kind of make it interesting. But to just sit up there, Damian Lillard is not happy in Portland right now. Damian Lillard. And him with CJ McCollum is in the league backcourt. And what we going to do? We going to sit up there and say, well, D'Antoni's the answer?
Know why he's not happy?
Because
they don't have enough. And I'm not saying D'Antoni will get them over the top. I'm saying he'll make them better. When you say, why should he get a job like that? Look, every team, like a lot of teams have a Damian Lillard caliber star. James Harden.
A lot of teams?
Well, here, look. James Harden, Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, LeBron James, KD. Like, you can go on. Even a young guy like Trae Young, you can make the same claim if D'Antoni got any of those jobs for any of those teams. As a matter of fact, when D'Antoni has a great player but doesn't buy in, he can't do much with him. Carmelo, Kobe. When he has a great player who does buy in, Steve Nash, James Harden, he could do a whole lot. When he has a player who's only okay, but he buys in, Jeremy Lin looks suddenly like a star. If you give D'Antoni Damian Lillard's numbers will jump up.
Wait, I thought Lillard wants Jason Kidd. Wasn't that the conversation?
Yeah, and that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Jason Kidd took his name out of the hat there because people in Portland was bringing up his past instead of judging him on his merits as a coach.
If Damian Lillard had D'Antoni as a coach, that team would get closer to a championship than if they had almost anyone else as a coach.
How do you know that with the West looking the way that it looks with teams playing defense? Oh. How do you know that?
I'm not saying they'd win it because they don't have enough on the roster.
Well, listen, I'm saying
D'Antoni's a dude you get if you don't have enough on the roster.
Listen, last time I checked, last time we saw Mike D'Antoni, they got bounced out in the second round. Okay, the fact of the matter is that D'Antoni doesn't ensure that you're going to get but so far. It's not like the Portland Trailblazers aren't in the playoffs. They're in the playoffs every year.
They get better or worse with D'Antoni?
Excuse me. I don't know that. What are you saying, Max? Because he's not Terry Stotts?
No, I'm saying because if you give him a dynamic ball handler who can run his system.
And I'm saying there's plenty of coaches out there who deserve the opportunity to do that rather than some dude who's been there for 16 years and never even took a team to the damn finals.
D'Antoni has a track record of doing more with less, and you're framing it as though he's doing less with more.
I'm not.
That
That's
Rockets
not what I'm
team
saying.
had no business competing with the Warriors.
I am not saying that. First of all, I disagree with that because if you got CP3 and James Harden, if you got CP3 and James Harden, could you make a series interesting? Yes, which is what they did. Because I predicted they was going to lose no matter what. I predicted they was going to lose no matter what. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. Is another coach, it's not about whether D'Antoni's going to be better than what Terry Stotts did. It's that can another coach do
that?
What you saying D'Antoni would do.
I haven't seen.
Can a black coach take over an opportunity where you really have a shot to win? Like, look what happens.
Is there a better coach?
Steven Silas gets the job. Look what happens to the Rockets.
Is there a better coach?
With black candidates, then we keep seeing white coaches getting these great situations. This would be another example.
I wouldn't call this a great situation. I call it a good situation that he would make better.
A playoff team, and they could add
better than what Terry Stotts did. Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, wow. I'm so touched.
D'Antoni do a lot.
I'm so touched.
D'Antoni does more with less, and you're making it sound like he does less with more.
I'm not saying he does less with more.
Let's go to break, guys.
I'm saying he does the same thing.
No, he does more.
Who will Aaron Rodgers be taking his first snap of the season for? Did Russell Wilson actually demand a trade? And will Kyler Murray play baseball? All things quarterback still to come on First Take.
Ever the most skilled player in the game? I'm sorry, was Shaq ever the most skilled player in the game? But he was the best at one point, wasn't he? But he could do it in the playoffs.
I enjoyed Smith's story. I enjoyed it. I just want to say that. I like the graphics, the whole
So do
thing.
I. I love it.
Cool.
And by the way, Shaq was the most dominant, never the best.
What we did.
Oh, really? Shaq was never the best player in the game?
No, he was.
Shaq was never the best player in the game.
Oh, yes, he was the most dominant.
Yes, he was. He was the best player in the game.
Okay.
Big Perks here for this. Hey, Perk. But Max, I'm going to start with you. I know you got some feelings on that. Was Shaq ever the best player in the NBA?
Unless you have amnesia, of course. Is this a trick question? Shaq, do me a favor. Tweet at the show. Just answer this question yourself. Because I know what Kobe and Shaq used to say. Kobe best, Shaq most dominant. But let me make it simple. And Stephen A. picks up on Shaq most dominant, not the best. Oh, well, he's not the most skilled Duncan or Kobe had more skills. In 99-2000, Shaq was the MVP, 30 points, 14 boards, and 3 blocks a game. He was the finals MVP 3 years in a row. 3-time finals MVP. By the way, he and Kobe played on the same team. He was a 3-time finals MVP. But let me cut through all the nonsense. In those years, let's just take 99-2000. If we said, okay, list the best players in the NBA, the only position that Shaq would be in is 1. So everything else is semantics. You'd have Shaq 1, and then either Kobe or Duncan 2, and then the other 3, and then KG or whoever 4. But Shaq would be 1, and that was not the only season he'd be 1 on the list. In fact, the guy who had the most kind of undisputed claim to being the number 1 guy in the NBA, the best player in the NBA, between Jordan and LeBron's prime. I mean, Kobe was that. Duncan, you could argue, was that. But the guy who had the #1 most undisputed claim was Shaq. That was the dude. How are we going to sit here and pretend that didn't happen? Of course Shaq was the best player in the game.
Well, first of all, my apologies because I thought that we were talking about in terms of their playing time and whatever. 1999-2000, Shaq averaged 29-7, and he was clearly in his prime, most dominant, no question about it. He was unbelievable. From that point forward, it was Kobe, period. And when I look at Tim Duncan, and how spectacular he was. After Shaq won the MVP and they won their championship that year, the very next year, Kobe averaged 28.5. I would remind you that Shaq was shooting 52% from the free throw line. I would remind you that Shaq was getting bigger and bigger, and Shaq played when he wanted to play. Now, be very clear about this. Shaq was clearly the most dominant. I think Shaq is the most dominant force we've ever seen other than Wilt Chamberlain.
In our lifetime.
In our lifetime,
yeah.
okay? That's the most dominant force. And I'm not throwing any shade whatsoever. But not only did Shaq defer to Kobe in key moments, Shaq deferred to Kobe in the fourth quarter. Of course. Shaq deferred to Kobe at the free throw line. And Shaq, even though he could defend, especially if you challenged him, he'd shut you up real quick. That's not something he really had to do. So when I'm looking at Shaq overall, and I'm thinking from a skill set, the man was 7'1", 330 pounds he walked around with, all right? He was mobile, he was agile, his footwork was big time. He could do damage when he wanted to. He'd be in the open court finishing off fast breaks. We get all of that. But at the end of the day, when you have a teammate, the likes of Kobe Bean Bryant, okay? I'm sorry, I don't feel that way. But again, the mistake is mine, not yours, because I wasn't really talking about 1999, 2000. I thought, I thought you was looking at it basically
during their time together, but I'll dispute that too.
All right, you can dispute that, but I'm telling you, Shaq is unstoppable, the most dominant force other than Wilt Chamberlain we have ever seen in the history of basketball. But in terms of the best, from a skilled perspective, I mean, I look at Tim Duncan, I look at Kobe Bryant, his teammate.
He's not more skilled than those guys. I'm just saying, rank them. 1, 2, 3. Shaq, not just in 99, 2000. I mean, Kobe was incredible. And of course, he was the closer. He's the guy who could handle the ball, create his own shot, clutch player, the whole thing. But Shaq, the following year, after those numbers I gave you 29, 13, and 3 blocks. Again, basically the same numbers. And by the way, he was the finals MVP, not just in 99, 2000, but in 2000, 2001,
no answer to him.
2000, 2002. He and Kobe played on the same team. He was the finals
let's
MVP.
Perk get in here, guys. Perk, get in on this. Where are you? There you are.
I'm right here, Molly. Molly, I just want to know what's going on today. I've been watching First Take all morning, and I just want to say this right now to Stephen A. and Max: stay off the weed. I don't know if it's the OG being passed around, the purple. I don't know the strands that's going around over there at Seaport Studio right now. But some of the things I've been hearing this morning has been blasphemous. Okay, but look, Stephen A., I got to agree with Max on this point. Because for those 3 years, not only was Shaq dominant, he was the face of the NBA. I can't think of no other guy that was having an imprint on the NBA like Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, he was averaging during that time 27 points a game, 11 rebounds, 57% shooting. No, I wasn't there yet. I got in at 2003. But what I'm saying is, Stephen A., when you look at Shaq, and this is what people undervalue him at, when you talk about a skill set, Shaq footwork, Shaq ability to maneuver at that size, that's a skill set. Like, yeah, he wasn't going between his legs 1,000 times and doing all that, but you talk about the footwork that he had, was able to face up, spin off you, snatch the screws out the rim, the little soft touch turnaround that he had with one hand towards the baseline, soft touch jump hook. His passing ability is underrated. The way he was able to push the ball up the floor is no other player. Like, Tim Duncan was good. He was great. Kobe Bryant was great, but Shaq was on another level in those 3 years. And yeah, but I know that, right? But they felt under Shaq. And when Shaq came into arenas, He opposed his will. It was polarizing when he stepped in foot on the court. The opponents were terrified of him. So I got to say, not only he was the most dominant, but he was the face of the NBA in those 3 years.
Those three.
I never questioned whether or not he was the face of the NBA.
He was the best player.
He was the face of the NBA.
No, best player. Best player.
He was clearly the most dominant. I get that. Shaq and I have talked about this. We've had some disagreements, but not many, because he understands what Kobe Bryant brought to the table, and he understood that at 330 and a spin move. Remember, Shaq didn't spin without them damn elbows, scaring the living daylights out of people because you don't want to get hit by that brother. I mean, there was a lot that went into it.
Shaq was a good passer too, by the way.
That just involved brute force. And I remember his daddy, God rest his wonderful soul, the Sarge, sat up there and went like this. Shaq out there trying to play around him. He said, "Come here, what the hell you think you doing? You get your ass down in that low post, and you make you show them what the difference between a boy and a man truly is." He said, and his daddy was like this. Want to hear about no damn skill? You drop step and you bring it home. Right. That's what you do.
Right. I know what
we understand.
What you're reacting to. This all came up.
It's just particulars.
This
That's
came
all.
up because I was talking about Giannis yesterday. That's what I mean about a big. When you're a big, I know why you put your eyeballs on Shaq and say, but that's not the most skilled dude. You need to put that dude with another great player who can take over in the fourth quarter and blah, 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 like Wade or Kobe. That's my point. Shaq in those finals, those 3 years, 38 and 17, average finals MVP. 33 and 16. Finals MVP, average. 36 and 12, Finals MVP,
how many
average.
dunks? And how many dunks were those?
Oh, I mean, go stop him.
Right.
Stop him.
But can we take,
330.
Go stop him. You know what Yao Ming said?
330.
You know what Yao Ming said after the first time he played Shaq?
Yeah.
He said it was like playing a meat wall. A meat wall. That dude was immovable.
And he was and Yao Ming was 7'6".
7'6".
With tree trunks
Nothing
for
he
legs.
could do.
I'm saying with tree trunks
Nothing
for legs.
he could do.
And even he said that.
Nothing.
So what is some mere regular human being supposed
right.
to do? 330.
Can we take the focus off Shaq for a second?
And they didn't even call fouls. If they would have called the game right with Shaq, he'd average 50
All right.
points.
How's our listening skills? Let's take the focus off Shaq for a hot second. Perk, I want to come to you because I hear you have some issue with the Bruce Brown conversation we had a little earlier. So please indulge us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Look, I was listening to the show and I heard Max talk about the offense of the Brooklyn Nets in Game 3. He was talking about James Harden missing. I heard Stephen A. talking about Bruce Brown. But you know what? I didn't hear them talk about Steve Nash. He was the reason that they lost this game down the stretch when it was a possession by possession. I don't blame Bruce Brown. I blame Steve Nash for putting him in that position because he wasn't supposed to be in that position. When you get late in the quarter, when it matters the most late in the game in the fourth quarter, you got to go to your guys that get paid the big bucks. And you have two of the best scorers, two of the greatest scorers of all time on your team. You spread the floor, you get one side cleared, and you go 1-3 pick and roll. And you 1-3 pick and roll the Milwaukee Bucks to death, and you tell them to stop it. You get the switch. You get Kevin Durant on the low block with Drew Holiday guarding him because Drew Holiday hasn't had success guarding Kevin Durant. And look, I know it works because I watched Kyrie Irving do it with LeBron James when I was in Cleveland. I watched Russell Westbrook do it with Kevin Durant when I was in Oklahoma City. Steve Nash blew that game, and I hate that Bruce Brown is getting all this critiquing and all this, unfair criticism.
Well, first of all, I would appreciate it if you tell the truth. Because you said you was watching and listening to the show, okay? And I did bring up Steve Nash. I absolutely brought up Steve Nash for the exact points that you pointed out. Now, I didn't illuminate on it as much as you did, but I'll give you that. But I definitely brought up Steve Nash. The only reason I brought up Bruce Bowen was for the one play because I'm saying I was making a joke. I had to make sure I used my microscope to say, that's not Bruce Bowen. You understand? That's Bruce Brown, who's a damn good player that's done a good job for the Brooklyn Nets this year. How in the hell, it's 11 seconds left, KD just dropped 7 straight, was giving it to them, and you don't know to give the ball to Kevin Durant.
There was 8 seconds left, by the way.
I understand, Kendrick Perkins, that it's Steve Nash is but I get that point. But what I'm saying is there are certain moments in life, Kendrick Perkins. The Master P Theater, he knows this. There are certain moments in life where there are certain things that are just so heinous, so blasphemous, that even though it's just one thing, it stands above the crime. And that, I mean, you talk about a dude. This dude is lucky. Listen, he should be treated like the novice that he is. He should be carrying bags. He should be fetching lunch for everybody right now. He should be doing the laundry. He should be punished for what he did. You give Kevin Durant the damn ball.
There was plenty of time to get the ball to Durant. By the way, the shot went too quick anyway. Even without
he touched the rim.
Right.
He hit the backboard. Back down.
There was too much time left.
No, but listen, you got to understand. Listen to the position he was put in. The play was ran, I guess, for Kyrie Irving. They trapped Kyrie Irving. In that point of time, all he knew was that it was less than 20 seconds to go in the game. He can't see the clock. So in his mind he's just trying to go and get a quick basket because at the end of the day, you were only down 1 point. Okay, so if you did miss the layup, it's not the end of the world. You foul, they go up 3, you still have a timeout to tie the game. So I'm saying Steve Nash shouldn't have never put him in that position.
That's fine. That's fair. But I'm still going to ask Master P this question. Master P. Perkins. Master P. I'm still going to ask this question. Are you justifying that young man not giving Kevin Durant the ball? Are you justifying that on national television?
Well, I'm going to justify this. Did we see Kevin Durant come get the ball?
He was standing on the left wing.
Kevin Durant make a.
He was standing right there on the left wing.
Let me ask you a question.
Just hit a 3.
No. Hey, listen. It's a difference. Did Kevin Durant actually go and say, "Hey, give me the ball"? Did Kevin Durant do what Kobe Bryant would have done?
I got my hand on my heart, like Fred Sanford. Fred Sanford, Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you, honey. I got my hand on my heart. Are you trying to imply that Kevin Durant didn't want the ball? Is that your implication?
No, I'm
that
not
makes you
saying.
Rollo or someone.
I'm not saying. I'm not saying that, Stephen A. All I'm saying is that this guy's getting unfair criticism. My thing is, I understood what he was thinking and what happened in the position he got put in. And then we have to understand, look, P.J. Tucker, yes, Kevin Durant was standing on the wing, but guess what? P.J. Tucker was hugging them like a pair of apple bottoms, okay? There's nothing that he could have done about it, okay? That's how tight he was hugging KD, like a pair of apple bottoms.
Like apple bottoms,
I always thought
with the furs.
I always thought of Stephen A. as more George Jefferson than Fred Sanford.
Even
but
you and I, Perk.
When you say apple bottoms, that usually connotates something else, but okay.
Oh, my God. All right.
What's going on with
Perk, you're causing a lot of trouble on First Take these days.
The warm weather, man.
Got to say goodbye to you, sir. Stephen A., get it together. Russell Wilson says he never demanded a trade. The guys don't believe it. I'll be back. Everyone's on timeout for about 3 minutes.
Okay. I didn't say apple bottom.
You thought it. You thought it.
Perkins said that was.
On Aaron Rodgers lands still a no-show at mandatory minicamp. Who will Rodgers take the first snap for the season with?
Denver Broncos. Packers are going to give up the ghost and go get what they can for him. He wants to play for the Broncos. That's where he'll play.
Bucs wide receiver Mike Evans said he's been adamant that their talents are the best in the league. Stephen A., do you agree with Evans that the Bucs are the most talented team in the league?
Yes, I do. They're the reigning Super Bowl champions. They've got a 7-time Super Bowl champion as their quarterback. They've retained all 22 starters. I think that qualifies as them being the best.
Never say never. Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray leaves the door open for pro baseball. Reminder that Murray was drafted in the first round of the MLB. Max, can a quarterback do NFL and MLB?
No, it's hard enough for a cornerback to do it with Deion. The problem is you play to win championships. If he's playing in the postseason in baseball, how's he preparing for Sunday? You're playing every day. You're playing baseball and you're preparing somehow to quarterback a team on Sunday? I don't think if he does it, it'd be cool as hell. I'd love it. I just don't see how it works.
Not enough hours in the day. Russell Wilson speaking for the first time since his rough offseason with the Seahawks. He wasn't happy with the hits he was taking and wanted to say personnel decisions. His agent said he didn't want to trade, but they did have 4 teams he'd consider if that was the route Seattle wanted to take. Wilson addressed his interesting offseason Thursday.
In terms of the trade talks, I think anytime you play professional sports,
there's always a possibility of something happening, right? And I think that's just the reality. I think that there's a lot of teams out there that people were saying that I was going to or would go to. I requested a trade. I did not request a trade. I've always wanted to play here, you know, and the reality is, you know, I think calls were getting thrown around and this and that, and I think that's just a reality. But I think at the end of the day, the real reality is that I'm here, and I'm here to win, and I'm here to win it all.
It wasn't me. Russell Wilson channeling some real Shaggy energy there, denying that he asked for a trade. Stephen A., are you buying what Wilson said here?
Hell no. Listen, I say this with all due respect because I love me some Russell Wilson. He's made marvelous decisions. I'd like to add that. But I will say this. It's full of it. You tell your agent that there's 4 teams. What are we supposed to deduce from that? Now, things might be better now because he talked to Coach Carroll. But the bottom line is, you put that out there. Nobody else put that out there. They make it up, and technically, theoretically, literally rather. Yeah, you didn't say, I want to be traded. But you had your agent identify preferred landing spots. We made that up? Nobody made that up.
I mean, pure semantics. It's obviously pure semantics. And far be it for me to be accused of being anti-semantic. However, let me be honest. Let me be honest about this. When Stephen A., you don't say sources close to. You don't put it out there like that. Your agent puts his name on it and says, reports, here are the 4 teams he'll be traded to, and he'd agree to be traded to. And realize this is after he came out and publicly threw his offensive line and defense under the bus. You publicly talk about how you want better protection, better defense, and then your agent puts the names of 4 teams out here that you obviously have decided you'd be okay with a trade to, and you after the fact will say, well, I never really demanded a trade or requested a trade. What is the difference? What's the difference? Well,
hold up, gentlemen, because both can be true. He can give options and at the same time not demand a trade. Both of those things can be true. Well, yeah. Like basically, if things don't happen the right way with Seattle, these are the 4 teams I will go to. But I would still stay in Seattle, but I would also go to 4 teams. There's no demand there.
Well, there is no demand there. But what I'm saying is that when he's acting like it's a non-story, like, you know, he didn't deny what was reported. He didn't deny that he had told his agents those are 4 preferred places. But why did it get to a point where you had 4 preferred places? Because you were not happy in Seattle. So no, literally speaking, you certainly did not demand, but you had a preference. It was clear.
It looks like it worked because he looks like he's okay now.
You're right. He didn't demand because a demand would be like, I'm digging my feet in. You better do this. But the question is, did he ask? And you're right if you're saying that doesn't equal a demand, Max, Stephen A. But does it equal an ask? I think it does. I think if you come out publicly and you're like, I'm not being protected, I want a defense, and by the way, I'll take a trade to these 4 teams, and you put your name on it, that to me is the equivalent of an ask.
I think it's yes, or an ultimatum. Get the job done. It looks like they did. All right, Patriots quarterback Cam Newton has been bonding with his understudy, Mac Jones. As organized team activities take place, Jones revealed an interesting nickname given to him by Cam Newton. Take a listen.
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, he calls me Mac and Cheese, so I got my nickname. But he's done an awesome job being a good mentor.
Mac and Cheese, okay. Max, what's your favorite nickname in sports?
Oh, it's pretty obvious right now, is it not?
Mac and Cheese?
No.
Oh.
Lemon Pepper Lou?
Oh, yeah, that's
Lemon
funny.
Pepper Lou? You ain't going to beat that. Lemon Pepper
Poor
Lou.
guy, let him live it down.
And he copyrighted, live it down. He's making money. He copyrighted it and everything. Lemon Pepper Lou.
Probably got a deal with Wingstop coming up.
And he is right. I mean, they do have some good lemon pepper wings at that establishment.
You are on.
They just
my
do.
God.
They do.
Oh my God.
It's been a long time.
Please handle yourself this weekend and come back.
It's been a very, very long time since I've been at that establishment, but I mean, we can't be phony on television. We shouldn't be. I mean, I've been there, and they do have delicious lemon pepper wings.
Stephen A., what's your favorite nickname in sports?
How are the thighs and the breasts?
Oh my God,
I'm curious. We're talking about chicken.
Only the wings.
No, only the wings. Okay.
Only the wings. Only the wings.
Just curious.
My favorite nickname is the babyface assassin.
Oh, that's
Steph
good
Curry.
for Steph, yeah.
The babyface assassin. I like stuff like Chocolate Thunder back in the day with Darryl Dawkins and stuff like that.
Chairman of the
board. You know what I'm
board.
saying? I mean, the Diesel, stuff like that with Shaq and all. But the babyface assassin works for me.
I'm old school. I like Magic. I still think Magic is the best. All right, Stephen A., did you have a nickname growing up?
Oh, damn, they asking me that? Yeah, it's true. Damn.
Look at that hairline, though.
He looks like he's hanging out with Lemon Pepper Lou.
No, that was later. Earlier in that time.
What's the nickname? Let's go.
The Pedestrian.
My
brother-in-law at the time named me the Pedestrian. He said I never drove. I always shot jump shots. Called me the Pedestrian.
That's a great one.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Never drove.
Never drove.